A couple weeks ago, we had probably our most popular podcast of the year so far, where we talked about 10 ways to make millions of dollars on Amazon during a shaky economy or during a recession. And we want to kind of make a part two continuation of that because I think it is such an important topic. And literally, even right before we hopped on here, the three of us together, we are talking about these things, trying to make these decisions in our own Amazon business. So it's just really relevant to us. And I think so many other Amazon sellers who are trying to navigate these choppy waters and just see what do we need to, what type of hard decisions do we need to make over the next 6 to 12 months to make sure that we are mitigating our down risks and maximizing our upside, right? And so we don't want this to just be about the downside. We definitely want to always focus on the upside because, I mean, we still think there is unlimited opportunity selling on Amazon, but you have to be smart. And I think we said it a couple of weeks ago. Our opinion is we're probably going to see some people get weeded out of the Amazon environment who were operating maybe a little haphazardly or bringing in the classic barbecue gloves or what have you, right? Stuff that we've been talking about here for years. So today we want to talk about how we plan to make $5 million or sell $5 million in a recession over the next 6 months. We still are heading towards our $10 million challenge. We talked about that all last week, where we're at. I encourage you to go listen to last week's episode if you haven't, how we still plan on hitting our $10 million challenge on Amazon and the steps we're looking to take in order to do that. But today, we're going to focus on, again, maybe a little bit more of mitigating the down risk and some of the proactive changes or maybe updates that we're making in our business. So, Andy, one of the things we talked about last year a lot was the high cost of importing containers to the US that we've just never seen before, right? You've been, when did you import your first container to, like, way back when you first started selling?
Yeah, that was 2014. And I believe the container cost was right around $2,500 or $2,600.
Oh my goodness, makes me sick to hear that even. So $2,500, $2,600. And last Q4, we were paying $25,000. So a 10X over your first container 7 and 8 years ago, whatever that was, right? So that alone had me pretty scared last year. I know I was telling you guys, I was kind of chirping a lot at us saying like, hey, we need to be careful. And here's kind of my thing, and that we're going to continue to look at is when your COGS go up that high, when your shipping costs do double, triple, quadruple, or 5X, whatever, your inventory just gets a lot more expensive, right? And I know we all know that at a face value, but my fear last year, and thankfully, there's always this balancing act where Andy, you might push a little bit more and say like, no, we gotta keep doing it, and I think it helps balance us out. But my fear was that we would accumulate too much inventory heading into 2022, and then shipping prices would drop. And then we would be stuck with very expensive inventory that costs a lot to ship in, where our competitors might be bringing in cheaper inventory, right? And that's kind of the fear that I had last year. Now, thankfully, so far this year, our stuff has sold very well. And we actually, once again, in April, May, ran into some stock issues, not as bad as 2020 or 2021, but we still got, basically, we sold down most of that inventory. Now, not all of it, because I will say this, we still do. It's not all rosy. We do still have some SKUs that we brought in last year that aren't maybe our best sellers, that are probably a little expensive now because shipping has gone down. I actually don't monitor shipping all the time. We have our supply chain and our operations, so I'm not looking at every day. But I think, Andy, you said our last quote you saw was like around the 15,000 mark, right?
Yep.
And obviously it depends if you're where you're importing to, east, west. We do a lot of stuff to the East Coast just because our warehouse there. So it changes compared to maybe some LA shipping, but that's still something we're looking at. So I would say I've seen some people, actually was just reading a thread recently where someone did fall into this scenario that we were afraid about last year, and they brought in too much inventory last year at a high cost. And they've basically spent the last 6 months trying to sell through this expensive inventory at a net profit loss. Now they're getting cash flow back because they are selling through inventory that they put money into, right? Like, so they need to sell this stuff, but they're selling it at a loss. And essentially it's kind of like a lost year for them. And so what we're trying to do, I would say, is just be very careful. We're looking at out the next 6 to 9 months where we need to make a lot of inventory buying decisions, and containers have come down versus last year. But my question is, what if shipping continues to decline